One of the finest medium tanks in the world, the Russian T-34, with its highly disciplined driver. Part of an elite armored force breaking through defenses during mass maneuvers somewhere in Europe. Carrying infantry into battle, this armored formation is drawn from one of Europe's most formidable armies. Exact strength, a secret, but certainly more than 20 combat-ready divisions. As the pride of Russia's satellite forces in 1948, it was second only to the Red Army itself. But today, this is an independent army dedicated only to the defense of the Federated People's Republic of Yugoslavia. Its leader, 60-year-old Marshal Broztito, the man who led to victory the biggest partisan army of World War II. More than a military commander, Tito is premier and acknowledged leader of the only nation to escape from the Soviet bloc and to regain independence. In 1945, Yugoslavia emerged as a close ally of Russia. In the eyes of the Yugoslav people, Stalin shared the limelight with Tito. A founder member of the growing Russian Empire, Yugoslavia was watched over by Soviet trustees like Mr. Wyszynski, a well-traveled man with a keen eye and the fullest confidence of the Kremlin. Equally in evidence was Romania's strong-arm foreign affairs boss, Anna Pauca, then hailed as a communist saint and martyr, but since disgraced and discredited. Even her lifetime of unswerving loyalty to communism was no safeguard against purge. There was plenty for the travelers to see, notably Yugoslavia's 5-year plan to mend the damage of war and to bring the nation up to date. Priority went to communications, but the ultimate purpose was to utilize the nation's manpower more productively. Medieval methods were still dragging out the working hours of the impoverished peasant farmers who made up almost 3/4 of the population. Collectivization of livestock, land and machines into large state and cooperative farms was the revolutionary plan for reorganizing agriculture. Henceforth, most crops would be delivered to cooperative centers for direct sale to the state. Yugoslavs wanted to exploit and to process their abundant natural resources for themselves. Economies on the land were intended to make possible large-scale building as a first step to industrialization. While Yugoslavia worked, Russia watched, for she had long ago earmarked for Yugoslavs as suppliers of raw materials and grain to the Soviet Union. Tito's development plans would keep most of this wealth for his own people and leave only a small slice for Russia. Crisis hit Yugoslavia. Tito received a Moscow ultimatum to end national expansion and to deliver his country as a Soviet colony. Judging rightly the temper of his people, Tito refused to bow. Russian reaction was immediate. Sharing the Kremlin view, Wyszynski had little doubt that Tito would surrender in short order. Invective was backed by action. Knowing that Yugoslavs must import to live, Russia swiftly sealed them off from their eastern neighbors. Long shut off from contacts with the West, the new wall left Yugoslavia isolated and in trouble. Construction was greatly hindered for lack of materials. The drive for industrialization slowed down. Then, in 1950, catastrophe on the land. the worst drought in living memory. Vital crops withered and died. Unaided, Yugoslavs could not survive. To get food, they must turn for help to their old war allies in the West, or surrender to Stalin. Close to starvation and refused food by neighboring Soviet-controlled countries, Yugoslavia decided to reopen frontiers with the free world. One October day in 1950, the United States ambassador in Belgrade left his embassy. He was headed for a meeting with Marshal Tito that would make world history. For without yielding her right to continue national development along communist principles, Yugoslavia had asked for and obtained full American support for her revolt against Soviet dictation. In return, she guaranteed full internal publicity of all American aid, the distribution of food to all citizens, regardless of political convictions, and the right of American observers to see these conditions fulfilled. Within weeks, the agreement had taken practical effect. To speed deliveries to the interior, some ships put in at the Greek port of Salonika, much closer to eastern Yugoslavia than any Adriatic ports. Greece became a food bridgehead in the battle to keep Yugoslavia alive. For years, the border between Greece and Yugoslavia had been closed. But now, to let the emergency food trains pass, the frontier was reopened in amity for the first time since the war. Responsible for the temporary feeding of a nation was Ambassador George V. Allen and his staff of advisors and observers. Under his directions, these men were free to survey the land at will, taking in every town and village, however small and however remote. Most of these young Americans spoke either a Slav tongue or Italian or German, languages that many Yugoslavs understand. Villagers always turned out to greet the strangers, but the first official step was to call on the mayor to present letters of introduction. Observers like these covered almost all of Yugoslavia. With complete freedom to go as they pleased, they were able to report fully on the progress and fairness of the food distribution. They saw for themselves that food reached down to people who needed it most. Carefully doled out by ration tickets, the supplies of basic food shifted the Yugoslavs clear of the hunger line, but left them still dangerously close to the minimum.